T. Clark here with a 2017 AP Computer Science A pre-response question number 3. So reading the directions, it says, this question involves analyzing and modifying a string. The following phrase class maintains a phrase in an instance variable and has methods that access and make changes to the phrase. You will write 2 methods of the phrase class. So I have a class phrase. Here's my instance variable. It's a string called current phrase. So I'll probably use that later on. The constructor just sets up the current phrase to whatever the user gives me. And they give me find nth occurrence, this method that takes a string and gives me the nth occurrence, so the first, second, third, fourth, 10th, whatever occurrence, and returns the index. So it returns the int index, and if it's not found, if it does not occur, it returns a -1. So it's given that the string will be not empty, so greater than 0, length greater than 0, and the nth term will be greater than 0, so first is the minimum. And make sure that the current phrase, the instance variable, is not changed. So that's what this method does, find nth occurrence. We should be using this method, but we're going to make first replace nth occurrence. So this modifies the phrase by replacing the nth occurrence of string, or str, whatever the user gives us, we're looking for that, with REPL, with a replacement. And if it's not found, it won't do anything. And precondition is the same. The length is going to be greater than 0, means the str exists, and I'm looking for the first at the minimum, or the second, or the third, or the 10th. So that's part A. Part B we'll do later. So part A on the next page says, write the phrase method replace nth occurrence. Set it up over here in my replet. It will replace the nth occurrence of the str with the string REPL. If it doesn't exist, nothing will happen. I just read that. That's the same as the method comments. So here's an example. So I have a phrase, a cat ate late. So that's my string. It stores into current phrase. Yeah, current phrase. And what I want to do, what replace nth occurrence should do, is replace the first at with the string rain. So it's replacing the first one, excuse me, that's part of at cat. So it replaces it with rain right there. Next example, I want to replace the 6th at with XX, but there's only 3 ats, 1, 2, 3. There's no 6th one, so it stays the same. A cat ate late, nothing changes. For the third example, I want to replace bat, the second occurrence of bat, but again, there's no bat at all in this case, so no XX in the example output. The fourth one, I have a bunch of A's, A, 4 A's. I want to replace the first instance occurrence of AA, that one right there, with XX, and there's the example output. Okay, phrase 5, use the same 4 A's, and now I want to replace the second occurrence of AA. So here's the first occurrence, here's the second occurrence. So it changes the AA into BBB. So it takes away those 2 and replaces it here. So I have a class phrase with that current phrase. The constructor I can ignore for this one, or just it works like it's supposed to. I'm going to use find nth occurrence to find the index of the whatever nth one it is. And I'll just pass along the str. And let's make replace nth occurrence. So I have this copied over into my replet. So I'll go back up to the example so I can keep it open as I work. So first thing I need to do is I need to find that index. So I'll say int I equals the find nth occurrence str comma n. So I'm not actually doing anything. The find nth occurrence is doing it for me. So it says in the directions down below, I'll point this out, it says you must use find nth occurrence appropriately to receive full credit. So I don't want to find it myself. I'm going to use this method to find that index for me. So I'm going to find the index that I want to use. Okay, now using that index, excuse me, I want to check to make sure it's valid. If it's not valid, that means I is -1. So if it's not -1, I can do all my stuff. And if it is -1, nothing happens. The method is over. So if the index is found, if the str is found, I get a 0 or positive index. There is an occurrence. I want to get the beginning phrase. So the beginning phrase up until that part, not to start the string, A, is going to be the current phrase, the substring of the current phrase, from the beginning, 0, up until the index that I found, I. So that's the first part. So if I had, in this example, a cat ate late, A would be A space C. That would be the first string part. Now I want the second string part, so I'll call that one B, string B. I'm going to scroll down a bit. So string B equals, I want everything after, in this case, the at. So current phrase dot substring. And the way to get after is going to be starting at the index I. I'm going to say, go the length of the str. So basically, if I look at my first example, I'm looking for at, that has a length of 2. So I want to get rid of both of these. So I start at this space right here. So B is going to be everything from the space onwards. So if I look at it, I have the first part A, then the last part is B right here. So those are my two strings I just set up, A and B. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it. So I want to replace the current phrase. So I'm changing current phrase. And it's going to be that first part A plus the replacement plus B. And that should be it. So I combine using string concatenation plus the first part, the substring from 0 to the index, the replacement, in this case the replacement would be rain, and then everything afterwards. And for the second substring, I do not need to have a comma or anything else, because with only one input, I plus str length, it'll automatically go all the way to the end. So that's the 2017 AP Computer Science A FRQ 3A.